This is PoE from A to Z. Path of Exile is well known for having a ton of active skill gems. However, how many of them are actually viable? I will try to conquer Path of Exile one skill at a time. The ultimate goal? Beating a pinnacle boss in solo self-found, meaning no trading, no handouts. And with that, let's begin. Welcome back, Exiles. The next skill on the list is Armageddon Brand. Now it's been quite a while since I've played brands. I think it has to be several years ago. So this is a playstyle and a skill that I'm not very comfortable with. And you guys have given me lots of recommendations on builds, or more specifically, one build. And that is Jungroan's Armageddon Brand, the brand recaller build. And this seemed like a good place to start, so I started leveling using Jungroan's build for leveling. And as always, I've linked his videos about Armageddon Brand in the description below. And with that out of the way, let's get to leveling. Let's see, we'll do as usual, and now it's Ancestor League, let's go, solo self-found. And we'll go with the Templar class, and I'll call myself A to Z, Arma Brand. I started out by picking up Glacial Hammer at the Twilight Strand and linked that to Elemental Proliferation support. Thereafter, it was straight to Hillock, killing him off. From the reward, I picked up Rolling Magma to have a fire spell to level with, and linked that to Elemental Proliferation. After breaking some eggs and killing Tarkly, I picked up Arcane Surge from the reward, and Holy Flame Totem, and Frostblink. Holy Flame Totem during the first acts is very powerful, so I'll use Rolling Magma and Holy Flame Totem until I can swap over to Armageddon Brand. I also bought Flame Wall to get some extra damage, and throwing the Rolling Magma through the Flame Wall will give it some added fire damage. After that, I headed straight towards Brutus, killing me off. From the reward, I picked up Combustion and Flame Dash. I did not have the sockets to link Combustion to either one of my skills, so I started just leveling it instead. After getting the All Flame, I went back to town and bought Flamewood support just to try it out. So for now, I had Holy Flame Totem linked to Combustion and Flamewood support, and Rolling Magma linked to Elemental Proliferation support and Combustion, and Flame Wall as my damage dealing skills. Now it was time to kill Merveil and finish up Act 1. I ended Act 1 at level 15 with the following passive skill tree. In Act 2, I did as per usual, running to and killing off all the bandits to get the extra 2 passive skill points. Thereafter, I headed towards Fidelides, killing her off. From the reward, we can get the first piece to our build, the Brand Recall. However, I chose to pick up Herald of Ash instead to get some more damage, and will just buy the Brand Recall later on. I also picked up Cruelty as one of the rewards, as I will use Cruelty as one of the main links for my Armageddon Brand later on. Thereafter, I headed straight towards the Val Oversoul to finish up Act 2. I ended Act 2 at level 24 with the following passive skill tree. In Act 3, I went straight to kill off Piety and save Tolman. From the reward, I picked up Flammability as a curse to lower the fire resistance of enemies. Thereafter, it was straight towards finishing the quest Sever the Right Hand, which ends with you killing General Gravicious. And from the reward, we get the build enabling skill, Armageddon Brand, as a reward. So now it was time to swap over to being full Armageddon Brand. I removed the Holy Flame Totem and Rolling Magma and started the swap over to Arma Brand. I linked Armageddon Brand to Combustion and Cruelty. I still had Flame Dash linked to Arcane Surge and had Brand Recall as well. However, I cannot yet utilize the Brand Recall to its full potential as the skill costs a ton of mana. So for now, we'll have to kill mobs mostly by applying the Armageddon Brand. I still used the Herald of Ash as an aura and had Flammability as a curse. After that, it was straight for Dominus to finish up Act 3. I ended Act 3 at level 32 with the following passive skill tree. I started Act 4 by heading straight towards the normal labyrinth.
The goddess is watching. You must navigate your empire through troubled waters.
I ascended to a Hierophant and took Conviction of Power as my first ascendancy point. This will give me +4 endurance charges and +4 power charges at all times, and this really helps out with the tankiness during leveling. After the labyrinth, I went back to Act 3 and picked up Controlled Destruction and linked that to my Armageddon Brand. The build already started to feel really smooth. When I reached level 34, I finally had enough skill points to allocate Eldritch Battery, and this helps a ton and lets me use the Brand Recall way more often. I could still not use it on left click though. After that, it was straight towards the Rezo, killing him off. After killing off the Rezo, I went back to Act 3 to do the library quest, so I could get my hands on some new support gems. From the reward, I picked up Divine Blessing, as I will use this later on, but I also bought Determination to be more tanky and Discipline to get more energy shield. I also bought Wave of Conviction to help reduce the enemy's fire resistance. As I could not have all 3 auras, I disabled Herald of Ash and activated Determination and Discipline instead. After that, I headed towards King Kaon, killing him off. Then it was time to go to the Black Core to kill off Malachi and finish up Act 4. From Malachi, I also looted some pretty nice boots with decent life, resistances and some movement speed. From the reward of killing Malachi, I picked up Arcanist Brand and linked that to Wave of Conviction. I also picked up the Chaos Golem to get some physical damage reduction. I ended Act 4 at level 42 with the following passive skill tree. I now had enough energy shield to have Brand Recall at left click, and the Recall playstyle felt really smooth. But beware, the build plays more like a melee build than a normal spell build. So I headed straight towards Avarius to kill him off. At this point the build feels really smooth and the damage is really good. I felt like I was insta-facing Avarius and Innocence for every phase. After killing Innocence, I went back to Act 4 and bought Immolate support and swapped out Controlled Destruction with Immolate. And then it was time to kill Kitava to finish up Act 5. I ended Act 5 at level 48 with the following passive skill tree. At this point the build was really smooth and I just plowed through all of the content with ease. So I just ran through both Act 6 and Act 7 with nothing noteworthy that happened, just some minor upgrades to the gear. I ended Act 7 at level 58 with the following passive skill tree. When starting Act 8, I headed straight towards the Cruel Lab to do the Cruel Labyrinth. I put the next 2 ascendancy points towards Sign of Purpose. This will give a higher activation frequency of the Armageddon Brand, but most importantly, we'll get 100% cooldown recovery rate from our brand recall, so it can be cast much more often. I also went back to Act 6 to pick up Anger to get some extra damage. So the auras now was Determination, Discipline and Anger. After getting some more damage, I then headed straight towards the Solaris and Lunaris to finish up Act 8. I finish Act 8 at level 63 with the following passive skill tree. At this point, the build felt relatively complete in terms of all the skill gems and support gems, and not a lot of upgrades was done here. So I just plowed on through both Act 9 and Act 10 with relative ease. As always, I did everything that needed to be done in Act 10 except the Kitava fight, and went to do the Merciless Lab. I put the next ascendancy points towards Divine Guidance. This will give us some more mana, in addition to 10% of mana being taken instead of life. After that, it was only the Kitava fight that was left before finishing up leveling. I finished Act 10 at level 70 with the following passive skill tree. In total, I used 7 hours and 45 minutes to level through the acts, and I died 3 times during leveling, whereas 2 of the deaths was before normal lab. As usual, the tutorial is over and mapping is up next. Until then, stay sane, Exile.